We are back. We're now at Lesson 7C, Changes to the United States Budget Priorities. Just as our personal budget priorities change over time, the federal government's priorities are also adjusted based upon the needs of the nation. In your preview assignment, you analyzed changes in the education, and it's going to do the crazy thing again, in education, national defense, and net interest budgets. Without looking at the spreadsheet, name another government budget priority that you think has changed, either increasing or decreasing over time. Hit pause, look at the budget list, and write down a thought, and I'll meet you at the objectives. The objectives for this lesson are: a line graph can model a trend over time. Hypotheses need to be supported by evidence. On question 1, you wrote down some thoughts. Maybe you wrote that now less money is spent on agriculture, or that more money has been or was or has been spent on space exploration. And space exploration can go up and down based on the priority. And so you've got inflation, you've got changes, we've got all sorts of things going on. And that's why in this lesson, we're going to be looking for trends, and whatever we're talking about, we want to support it with evidence. You're also going to be able to analyze data in spreadsheets and in graphs. We're going to use additive or absolute comparison as well as multiplicative reasoning. And either in prior classes or in your preview, you have been looking at absolute change and you've been looking at relative change. With the absolute change, start associating the word additive, and with relative change, start associating the word multiplicative. We're also going to be able to develop a reasonable hypothesis that is going to be supported by evidence, and we're going to use spreadsheets to create a line graph, and then we're going to describe the pattern of that graph. So if you haven't hit pause already, go ahead and do at least question 2, maybe questions 2, 3, and 4, and then come back and we'll work on these together. Question 2 asks us to examine the spreadsheet data from the practice assignment 7C. And the figures, it reminds us, are in the spreadsheet are in millions of dollars. A couple of questions. What factor of 10 must be multiplied by each data value to show all the decimal places in the number? And then part B, in 2009, the amount budgeted to education was $79,749 million. And they want us to write this number with the correct number of zeros. And then what is another way that we can write this number? I'm going to go to the spreadsheet in just a second, but we don't need to right now because it tells us right here that the spreadsheets represented, the numbers are in millions of dollars. And so what factor of 10 do we need to or must be multiplied by each data value to show all the decimal places? Because it's millions, million is a 1 with 6 zeros. And so that tells us we're going to use 10 to the power of 6. And then it asks us to take this number and write it with the correct number of zeros, and then rewrite it as a different number. So the correct number of zeros, I'm going to start over here with my 79,749. I can multiply this by a million. I can multiply it times 10 to the 6th power. I can also do a little cheating here and just say that means we're going to have 6 more zeros. So this is a way to write this number with the correct number of zeros. What's another way to write this number? And we've got the million one. Let's go ahead and use the front part. We could also write this as 79, and then with 9 zeros or 9 places, 9 represents billion. So the first question says rewrite it using the correct number of zeros, and that's all of this number here. And then it says, hey, can you rewrite it as another number word combination? And so that would work out as 79 billion. However, my 79, let me change colors. My 79, looking right behind it, is a 7. So I need to either write this as 80 billion, or let's go ahead and just do a decimal and call this 79.7 billion. and make this more accurate than what I had it. If you have not already worked on question 3 and possibly even question 4, but at least question 3, please hit pause. Go ahead and complete what you're understanding to finish on question 3, and then come back and we'll work on this one together. Question 3 does say, consider the data for the line items education, for national defense, and for net interest. And here you have the education, national defense, and net interest, and the years 2000 and 2014. Fill in the table cells with the appropriate budget amount. In my math lab, you have access to spreadsheets. So I've gone to this one, and this is spreadsheet 7C in class activity. And the first one they were asking for on question 3, it's the education, training, employment, which is this line right here, but they want it for the year 2000. So I'm going to scroll way over here and found it. Here's 2000, education, and it says 53,764, but remember, this is represented in millions. So when we go back to write it down in the chart, we're going to have to write it either with a bunch of zeros or with some abbreviation just using the word million. So here's one number we're going to take back to the chart, and then the other number, it asks for education again, but the year 2014. So this is the number, oops, this is the number I'll grab for education 2014, 129,041 million, and we'll discuss or talk about what to write down on that. I also need to get information from national defense. Let me scroll down here. National defense. Where is national defense? Oh, the very first one. National defense is right there. And then net interest is, that's going to be the one we get our other information from. That's down here at the bottom. So we're needing to get 6 pieces of information, 3 for 2000, 3 for 2014, and go put them back on question 3. Get these numbers, and I'll meet you back at question 3. I brought the numbers over from the spreadsheet to question number 3. I put them in there using the shortcut. You could, if you prefer, do 53,000, which actually it's going to look like this, which would be 53,764,000,000. And you can continue to write those underneath if you would prefer to see them written that way. I'm going to stick with the shorthand with the number word combination and go on to question 4. Again, if you have not completed question 4, hit pause, do question 4, and then come back and let's walk through it together. Question 4 asks or says we're going to focus on the education budget. And with focusing on the education budget, Part A says what's the absolute change in the amount of money allocated to education from 2000 to 2014. Absolute change is also called additive reasoning. Absolute change is ending number minus beginning number. And so looking at question 4, Part A, our ending number is 129,041 million minus 53,764 million. And when we subtract these, grabbing a calculator here, I get 129,041 minus 53,764, and I'm looking at $75,277 million difference from 2000 to 2014, and it is positive because we went from the 53,000 up to the 129,000. Part B asks us to calculate the relative change in this amount, and recall that it's found by first finding the difference, which we did. So now we're moving to Part B. We're going to use this same difference, and we're going to divide it by, because it's ending number minus beginning number, we divide it by beginning number. And in this case, we began at the 53,764 million. And now the first one up here is the part for answer A, or Part A. And the bottom part, we're going to take our 75,000 277. And we're going to divide it by 53,764. Again, this is all million. It's all dividing out with all of the zeros. But I need to remember that what I'm looking at is a decimal. And then when I multiply by 100, my answer for part B is 140. Does it ask us what to round to? It doesn't say, unless I'm skipping over it. 140%. That's huge. That's over 100%. Change, a relative change based on where we started to where we ended up. Part C asks, what is your hypothesis about the federal government's priority for education? Use your calculations and your graph to support your hypothesis. Graph meaning the table. And looking at this, I'm going to use the numbers. Looking at the numbers, it has gone up, but how much it's gone up in relation to where we started in 2000, it has gone up 140%. So the education budget has increased. That's pretty dramatic from 2000 to 2014. In other words, 50,000 up to over 100,000. It's more than doubled. However, as you can see, most of the change in the graph was due to a sharp rise in the early 200s. So I need to go find the graph. I'll be right back. So come back over here to our spreadsheet, and I'm going to go highlight row 2 and hold down the control and then click on line 6 and highlight the education and training and go up here to insert, recommended charts, all charts, line. And looking here at line, okay, that's the one we want. Then making some decisions, what's going on here, and noticing the growth, the change. And right here around 2000, that's a pretty sharp growth from 2000, what we're talking about, up to 2007. And then there's a dip and then a rise. And so history also plays into what's going on. But 140% growth from 2000 up to where we think we're going to be in 2014, that's still a lot of growth. And there was a sharp rise in the early 2000s, and then the budget for education has jumped up and down ever since then. We're going to do the same thing on question 5 for the national defense. Question number 5 says, now choose either national defense or net interest for the 2000 to 2014 period. Perform the same analysis as what we did in question 4, and then write a brief paragraph about your chosen category to be read on a morning news show and refer to your calculations and or your graph. I'm going to pick on net interest and perform the same analysis. This will give us a good review on absolute change. Absolute change is the ending number minus the beginning number. Ending number is 222,887 million minus 222,949 million, ending minus beginning. That's all we're doing on the first one. And when we do this calculation, it's down 62 million. The interest, the net interest, is down 62 million. To do the relative change in this interest, give us a little bit more information, we're going to take what we just did with ending minus beginning and divide it by beginning. We'll divide, we'll hit, we'll divide and then we'll multiply it by 100. And then the number, the percentage that we're getting is it's down. Oh, this is really small. Much less than 1%. So depending again on the audience, you might say our interest is down 62 million. And that sounds great, but in reality, when you compare it to where we started, it's not really down a whole lot in relation to where we started. If you want to go ahead and calculate the national defense, the numbers that you'll end up with are that the absolute change is that we went down 332,392 million over the last 14 years. And then you see the, and I hope I didn't say go down. We went up 332,392 million in defense spending. And when you put that as a relative change, a multiplicative change, that's 112 and 9/10%. That's going up a lot in relation to where we started in 2000. And historically, we could think what kind of events happened, and 9/11 happened shortly after 2000. And so from 2000 up until 2014, the increase in defense spending definitely has gone up. I'm going to go ahead and go back and do one more of those graphs, line graphs, and I'm going to use the net interest. Let me use the national defense. I'll do one for the national defense. So we're back at the Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to highlight the dates and put them with the national defense numbers from 1941 up to approximately the 2014. I'm going to go into Insert and Charts, All Charts, Line, and tell it OK, that's the one we want. And then looking here, this is just pure numbers, looking at defense spending, and you can start to even look historically. Where are some wars? Where's the Cold War, Vietnam War, Korean War, and right up here is 2000. And so then we're looking at increasing the defense, possibly in relation to 9/11. History plays into the spending and the priorities. This completes our lesson. The sample news report, I'll read one. I'll read one for the net interest. The interest on government debt has decreased over 60 million in the last 14 years. However, as you can see on the graph, it is projected to increase dramatically for the rest of this decade. The government's debt interest has stayed relatively flat from 2000 to 2014. As you can see from the graph, the net interest budget has wavered up and down over the last 14 years. The one for national defense that you're looking at. The budget for national defense has more than doubled since 2000. The national defense budget has increased over 100% in the last 14 years. The budget for national defense has grown by $332 billion in the last 14 years and has skyrocketed to almost $627 billion. However, as you can see from this graph, the budget was even higher around 2010, but has decreased somewhat in the last few years. This finishes our lesson 7C. Look at your calendar to see if you have more lessons to do. You definitely have homework to go do and maybe some more videos.